we have our next speaker is not from a farm, but they are a Skills Canada alumni and entrepreneur. So the name is Shoshawna Blair, and she's from Skills Canada and the Learning Partnership, which is where Aaron and Deborah are from. So I'm excited to hear. She's going to talk about how the Skills Canada helped her grow, her schooling experience, the experience in the trades, and why. Yeah, so we're just going to, I see the picture here. I'm going to turn the microphone on so we can hear you. And welcome.
Thank you. Well, even though this is my story, my journey, my life, as soon as I start thinking about talking about it, it honestly feels like someone else's, as if I'm suddenly going to forget something so important to me. And then I get into the groove, I feel the passion run through my body, and before I know it, my 10 minutes is up. Like you said, I'm Shoshawna Blair, an apprentice baker, Skills alumni, and entrepreneur here in beautiful Port Coquitlam, British Columbia. And although I don't work on a farm, that would be pretty nice. It was my grade 12 year when I was fully introduced to baking and began my journey in the industry and with Skills Canada. Baking has spoken to me my whole life, and not just because of the taste factor, but everything that comes along with it. The patience, the time management, problem solving, the creativity and artistry. The kitchen truly is my happy place. Sometimes I work for 12 hours and come home and I'm in the kitchen baking again, like there's no problem. I believe that part of that has to do with my innovation, always wanting to try something new. I participated in the 2017 Skills provincial competition for baking. And since then, Skills has been a huge part of my life. Leading up to competition, every practice round, I was nervous. I didn't feel ready. I honestly was prepared to back out. But between my instructors, my best friend, and my own judgment, I stuck it out. And I'm so grateful that I did. Something inside me just clicked on competition day, and nothing else around me mattered. I flew through my production schedule quicker than in any practice, and my products turned out better than I ever could have imagined. To this day, I barely remember them calling me up when they said gold. It still feels surreal. Following that, I went on to compete nationally in Winnipeg. Still proud with how I had performed and the product produced, I just skimmed bronze and unfortunately didn't make it to the podium. But that was not the most important part. The most important part was the amazing knowledge that I got from competing. And not just about time management, production, and baking, about myself. I learned so much about how well I work under pressure, how well I work in the kitchen, and how to zone in to what I'm doing. It's an experience that I highly recommend to anyone that can participate. Even though I was no longer competing, I continued to attend Skills BC events such as the Skills Gala and local competitions. Just after having finished my level 2 baking apprenticeship, I received an email in regards to participating as a Skills alumni representative on the National Alumni Committee. This meant traveling to nationals and still being able to take part even if not competing. This also meant being able to help other alumni do the same thing. The opportunities I've been given through Skills had just kept growing and honestly still do to this day. For Skills, my best friend Claire, and my fiance Tyler, I am grateful that they have given me a push into this direction. And as this is a global innovation field trip, I'd like to talk about some of the ways that innovation and problem solving make a difference in the trades that I work in. Picture this. It's a beautiful sunny day in mid-June, 22 degrees outside. I'm inside decorating cakes with chocolate buttercream, which, by the way, is majority butter, chocolate, egg whites, and sugar. The ovens are on behind me, and the air conditioning is blowing warm air. If you've ever left a chocolate bar or ice cream out for too long on a warm day, you'll know exactly what my buttercream resembled. But I still had cakes to fulfill and little time to do so. So I took some of the large bins of peanut butter and fillings into the fridge and created a stable stack for me to work and decorate cakes on. Although not ideal, I still had to work quickly enough to keep my buttercream soft, but at least it wasn't melting on me. A solution had been created, and on warm summer days, it's honestly my favorite place to decorate. This is just one of the many examples of how important innovation and problem solving are in my primary trade. During COVID, I went through a job change, and during the transition, my fiance had offered me to work with him, installing kitchen cabinetry. It was a nice change of scenery, although I was still technically working in a kitchen. Much more physically demanding than I was used to, but after a while, it was almost as relaxing as baking. Now, I'm only 5'2" and not a big fan of ladders, but in a job like this, there wasn't much choice. I had to adapt and think of ways that I would be much more comfortable. As I was putting doors on and shelves in, it began easy to use my ladder and the bare countertop for support. This made the first few days seem fairly simple and quite enjoyable. But as the beautiful marble counters began to get put in, I had to be so much more careful as to where I was stepping and placing my weight. Tyler then helped me solve my problem with some tricks as to where and how to place my doors, tools, and set up my tool cart. It reminded me so much of how I set up my station at work to have optimal organization, speed, and cleanliness. This also made it easy to solve any problems that I may have come across. For example, if there was a door missing, I could put in all of the other ones that I knew I had in order first. Then I could begin to eliminate any other possibilities and was rarely stuck in a situation that I couldn't figure out, thanks to the process of elimination. Quite similar to when I'm building cakes. I begin with the sizes, layers, and flavors that I know I have, and as I keep going, I find what I'm missing. Then I'm rarely left with any missing pieces. Every day after work, Tyler and I come home and talk about our days. It's honestly so crazy to believe how easy it is for us to understand each other's situations at work. Sometimes I think it's so different, and yet our jobs are very, very similar. We have a lot of friends that work in different trades, and slowly I'm learning a bit about each one. This has been so beneficial, and not only to my relationship with Tyler and our friends, but to people in my everyday life. It's something that I can relate to others with, something to talk about and spark a conversation. I hope to have a chance to dabble in at least one more trade at some point in the next few years. I just haven't quite decided which one yet. Any trade is a constant learning experience, and I fully stand by trying out as many as you can whenever you get the opportunity. And even if it's something that doesn't speak to you, there's always the potential of new doors opening and something that catches your eye. Or who knows, maybe you'll like it more than you anticipated. I know I liked cabinetry more than I had anticipated. I also fully support checking out a national skills competition in your country if that opportunity is available. There's typically some really fun try trades where you can get your hands dirty, try something new, something you didn't know you'd like, and you can watch so many trades compete, which to me gets me the most interested. Seeing the passion when everyone else is performing a trade, it really makes me want to try it. And like I said, before I know it, my time is almost up. But thank you for having me and listening to my story about innovation, problem solving, and passion in the trades.
I am so in love with you right now. You have a beautiful voice. The way you wrote what you shared with us was just eloquent. I love baking. I'm horrible at it. Knowing that I had to be up for the next 4 hours, I had a chocolate s'more before I came. So basically, you and I have a lot in common. I just put a marshmallow in the microwave and then melted it between chocolate and graham crackers. So I feel like a chef. Before I ask you a question about the trades, I have to ask you, do you have a dog in there with you?
I do.
We can hear your dog eating a bone.
She's sleeping. She's sniffing around. And
is she snoring? For a moment, I was like, I don't understand. And then one of my partners who is doing the YouTube right now sent me a little message, and she says, I think there's a dog eating a bone there because we can hear her. Well, I love the trades, and I think it is one of those opportunities for kids that they don't think a lot about.
No.
they need to think about it more. In the U.S., we have Skills USA. So we have the carpentry, welding trades, but we also have the national skills of cosmetology and baking and cake decorating and all of these wonderful things that kids that love to do this need to know that this could be a career for them.
Exactly.
In the
Like I
States,
said,
we have famous people that do this. Duff Goldman from Cupcakes, and Buddy Velasco and Alton Brown and all these people that make lots of money, but it's not always about the money, right?
Yeah.
It's about your fulfillment. Did you bake when you were little?
A little bit. I baked with my grandma, just box cakes a little bit, but I honestly, growing up, I thought I was going to be a teacher.
Okay.
And it was grade 12 when I found out that there was a lot more to learn about being out in the world and what I could do and be happy doing.
I think that you and your fiance are a perfect match because he can build you your dream kitchen. And
He has been building me my dream kitchen.
Yeah, and you can bake for him every night. I mean, what a great relationship.
That sums up our relationship, actually. He used to work in the kitchens, so he's also been teaching me how to cook quite a bit.
That is wonderful. Arturo, did you get a little hungry when she started talking about the chocolate buttercream? And
no, definitely yes. And I think that if you want like still try something new, I think you should be like a poet or a writer because you're skilled to bring imagery. It's that combination with your voice, your pace, and the passion that you transmit. I could pretty much like taste all of those flavors, and I was like hating you because you were bringing all of this right now, but at the same time loving you. I mean, you should try like writing. I mean, if I don't know if you do, but it was a great imagery bringing into my mind.
And having the dog there licking something is, yeah, I didn't know if that was your fiance, like eating cake. I wasn't sure how that went. But I agree, you are very eloquent in your writing. I can see you being, a great baker or a great cook, also writes. We have Joanna Gaines from the U.S., Chip and Joanna, who build houses and decorate. She's also a cook and a baker, and she writes these amazing books. I see that in your future.
Yeah. Thank you. I've always loved writing, actually.
Well, you were great at it, and I could tell that you put a lot of time into just the thoughts that you wanted to convey. I feel like you are still a little bit in love with the Skills USA, the competency things that you did, and probably owe a lot to that. We heard from one of the Skills competency people in Canada last time we did this in May, and she was a welder. And you could just hear her like, oh, so grateful, and I'm thankful for everyone that mentored me, and I could hear that with you too.
You meet a lot of amazing people through Skills. And I was actually really shy before I started competing. I mean, I still am, but they've brought out a lot more in me and helped me to become who I am now. I'm very grateful.
So what is your next step? What is your dream?
So I just finished my Red Seal examination. I'm a few hours away from getting my Red Seal certification. And following that, I'm looking into opening my own bakery. Right now I work at Hansel and Gretel. It's in Maple Ridge, and I do the cake decorating. And yeah, I'm working there until I get my Red Seal, and then hoping to open a bakery.
Then your fiance will build you a bakery.
He'll build me the most beautiful kitchen. He's already begun. I have the most beautiful shelving and tables for baking.
Yeah. And that marble that you were building in that house when you were helping him with cabinetry, we know that marble is a great place to roll out pie crust and candy and fondant. So you're on the right road there.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. It is 11:40 here, and I'm now hungry. So I will be going to get something to eat after this is over.
Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And tell
Thanks,
your
Shoshana.
fiance hello and your dog.
Will do.
All right. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Congratulations. Take care.
Thank you.
Well, that was just very pleasant. I love that, Arturo.
Yes.
Didn't you?
Yes, definitely yes.
You know, innovation comes in many packages.
Yeah,
And her talent is to make people happy and to create and design in the baking world. And how fulfilling that is. You know, I mentioned something about money, but I'm in education, so I don't make any money much, right? You have to find your passion. You have to find something that makes you want to get up in the morning and do your job. And I think she's found hers.
yeah, and I just love the way she's capable of transmitting it. I mean, she not only is not only like noticeable that she enjoys it and she actually lives it, but the way she shares it, I mean, it pretty much drags you along with her. So it was like a really great experience to listen to her.
Yeah, and like you said, she was a poet.
Yeah.